Today we have just a generic cassette tape recorder from the 80s or the early 90s, but I figured I would give you guys a look at it and sort of take a trip back in time, so to speak, I suppose, to sort of times before smartphones and stuff, and Pandora and Spotify and all these other platforms that we can listen to music on. This is how we recorded pretty much anything, really, back in the 80s and 90s. This specific one is a realistic CTR-29 AC/battery cassette recorder with condenser microphone. This is more for like a home use sort of deal, if you want to, record, maybe just whatever, I guess. I remember my sister and I used to mess around with one of these when we were kids. Not this exact one, but we had another black one that was a little smaller. This one is quite large. This is actually from, let's see here, let's read this sticker on the back here. I don't know how well you can see. It says realistic CTR-29 cassette tape recorder, a Tandy Corporation company. It's actually custom MFO in Korea for Radio Shack. So this was back when, I guess, Radio Shack when Radio Shack was still in existence. And then, places like Amazon kind of, knocked them out of business. Although it wouldn't really be too hard to knock Radio Shack out of business. Anyways, this is just your generic sort of cassette tape. Like I said at the beginning, it's got a little handle on it. But this was back when Radio Shack kind of made their own stuff, really. They had these, just basically any sort of thing. It was like Amazon is now with they have like Amazon Basic Collection. That's kind of what Radio Shack had, but it was for different tech stuff. It was sort of like a more budget option for people who didn't really want to spend, top dollar for any real like top name stuff, but it still provided good quality. So you have buttons here. You have 6 buttons on the front here. You have a record button, rewind, fast forward, play, stop, and eject. All of the same standard 6 buttons that you would find on pretty much any sort of tape recorder back in the day. This isn't really too far off from the design of other tape recorders. They might vary a little bit in aesthetic, but as far as layout and functionality, they were all pretty much the same. Now, you'll notice this is AC/battery cassette recorder, and that's because it took, I think on the sticker it says it took, how many? Took 5 C-cell batteries, which are huge. But if you look on the back, you'll notice there's 2 outputs here. This top one is for DC at 7.5 volts, and then AC input, so it could run on your main house power. You could plug it into an outlet or something. And then if we read that sticker again, it says DC 7.5 volts. Excuse me. Or 5 C-cell batteries. And then AC at 120 volts, 60 hertz, 5 watts. Which I think 60 hertz is still the standard. And then on the bottom here we have the volume knob, back when the volume was a roller switch, or a wheel sort of a thing. Then we have an REM, which I don't know what that means. a microphone port and a headphone port. And I'll show you the microphones in a second. Just want to show you the other ports. We have an auxiliary port, so I guess you could plug this into another set of speakers and have it as a form of maybe some sort of setup in your home. Plug it into running off the mains, power, and just kind of keep it set up as is, and just play your cassettes off of it and not do any recording or use it for recording. So it came with 2 Sylvania microphones, which still work. At least this one I know works. This didn't come with it. I just had this. It's your, it's your standard 3.5 millimeter to studio jack. I don't know the exact size of that, but it's studio port. So this runs off of a normal 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. You could probably plug that into anything that has a 3.5 mil port on it. So what you do is, you just plug it right in. It's kind of self-explanatory, and you can use it for recording voice memos and stuff. It came with a little clip that you attach to the microphone so you could put it on a table. Not really anything special, but if you needed to clip it onto your shirt or set it on a table, if you're doing an interview, you could do that. I suppose you could use this for conducting interviews. I don't know why the first thought that popped into my head was police interrogations. I'm sure they used something similar to this when recording interrogations. I don't know. But I'm sure they would use something along the lines of this with a microphone set up in front of somebody. But what do I know? Not much. And again, going off of not knowing much, I don't know why the fast forward and record buttons won't work. Probably because there's no batteries in it at the moment, but if I did put batteries in it or plug it into mains and try to record something, it might work. But it's just the record and the fast forward buttons that don't work, or I don't know how to get them to function properly, is more like it. It does still work. It does still function. I'm not going to put any sort of cassette in here because I don't want to get hit with any form of copyright strike or demonetization. Not that I'm making any money anyways. You guys could, click and subscribe, help me make some money off of this stuff. Just saying, in passing. So it still works, although it's very slow, so it might be something in here with the motor or the motors. I'll have to take some time and open it up and see inside exactly what might be wrong with it. But yeah, it's a good system to have in your collection if you're into vintage cassette players or vintage media or anything of that sort. I found this in my attic, so my parents probably had it back in the day. It's about it, really. It's nothing more. It doesn't go on the internet. It doesn't play games. It just records and plays cassettes. What more do you need?